Welcome to the Dignity Dialogue with your host, Joe Kiedinger.
Hello, everyone. This is Joe Kiedinger with another Dignity Dialogue, and I am thrilled with our topic today because it's about executing corporate culture. And our guest today is doing just that and has been doing that for many, many years. I'm so excited. And before I introduce her, it's always been the mission to be the how of servant leadership, how to deliver great leadership in a system versus just coaches, curriculum, and all of that stuff. I've always believed there's a system that needs to be done that has to be simple, click a button, have the real conversation, and something that guides you through it. And our guest today has been with us for many years, probably close to 10 years-ish, 8 to 10 years using our system. Back when it was called About Me Card, which is now called Dignify. So without further ado, our subject today is about creating these winning teams, these high-performance work teams. Cherie Taylor is the president of two small critical access hospitals in Montana. So Cherie, it's so wonderful to have you on the show.
It's great to be here. Thanks, Joe.
And I was mentioning that's a beautiful background, and anyone who lives in Montana lives on a property like that. That's what I understand.
Sure, absolutely.
That's for your Montana, advertising.
Yeah.
I have yet to make it out there personally, but believe me, you're on my bucket list. And I'm a skier, so I'm really interested in. I forgot what's the name of the famous. I mean, you got lots of them, but what's one of your famous ski hills? That's steep and tall.
Big Mountain or
Yes.
Big Sky?
Big Sky, Montana. How far is that from you?
Oh, it's about 5 hours.
Okay, 5 hours. Okay, so what's the closest ski hill to you?
Big Mountain. About right fish, yeah.
All right, Big Mountain, that's where I'm coming to visit you at some point. All right. Cherie, tell us a little bit about you, how long you've been in the business, especially in hospital systems, healthcare, right? This is a big area of opportunity to build culture, and I'm just curious on your take of building a culture within that environment, right? Because you have doctors and nurses and all these different types of staff folks. So tell us a little bit about that world.
Yeah, so I've kind of been here in dealing with healthcare. My beginnings were in 1996. Interesting enough, when I first came to Cut Bank, when I would introduce myself and say, I'm looking at the facility here, people would say, "Oh, I'm sorry." And so we had quite a reputation for not being a great place to work or be, and so really wanted to focus in on how do we change that. I didn't start out in the president role for sure, and so I was more at the business office management level and tried to make incremental changes there. But then about 10 years ago, when the About Me came around and I was in the CEO realm, I really thought that was a good opportunity. And the leadership team really focused in on what can we do to change culture? What do we need to do, and how do we improve the dialogue and communication? And how do we do it in such a manner that we get to know each other and understand each other, so that when we have difficult situations, we can move through that in the best manner possible. And so Dignify was one of the tools that was given to us as an opportunity, and we decided to take that. Let's try that. It is difficult, especially when you have conflicts and that type of thing. Sometimes people don't want to do check-ins because there's conflicts there, and sometimes it's uncomfortable. Interesting enough, we added a question because we can edit and add some questions, and we added a question at the end of all of our check-ins that said, "Is there anything we need to talk about that is bothering you today?" And so that gave kind of responsibility on the individual and the other person being checked in to be transparent and honest with each other. So sometimes what we found was people were checking in, but they weren't really talking about what was bothering them between the two of them. And so with this question, kind of standardized in, it didn't give you an opportunity to kind of shy away from that. Interesting enough, sometimes people don't want to do check-ins, but now we're getting used to it and people are seeing the value in that. And really what it is about is us understanding and having the dialogue when there's difficult situations.
Yeah. I've always said that we are a bunch of misunderstandings walking around, right? Every human being, think about that, is driven by 5 key dignity traits, and we all have our do's and don'ts. There's more than 3 do's and 3 don'ts for every human being, but it's a good place to start and hit the bullseye for every person. You know, we find that the challenge with defining respect is that respect is different for everyone, and it's an emotional thing. To feel respected is emotional. It's not logical. And so to express when you don't feel, right, when you're not feeling that, is very difficult to do. And that's why most people, and I do mean most, do not like feedback, because that's an emotional engagement to give feedback, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And so,
go ahead. So that's what we find too, is that even though our organization has done this for a while, that sometimes we ourselves will hesitate because we need that feedback in order to grow and learn and be better and develop better cultures. But the why, and that's what we always have to bring ourselves back to, the why is we want to have an incredible work culture for our patients. So the better the work culture is, the better care we can provide for our patients. Because when people are tense or there's things going on, they can't provide the best care, quality care for the patient. And that's what's.
Yeah. You know, I've always had this dream, Cherie. Maybe you could be the first. I always had this idea of a patient. You know, when I go to the, some primary care and I have to fill out this paperwork, okay? And the paperwork I fill out, Cherie, like a physical, right? It's like, do you have this? Are you feeling this, right? You're filling all this out. And now, Cherie, they've gotten into emotional questions, which is new for me. What's home like? Are you ever living paycheck to paycheck? Do you guys ask that question? Is that like fundamental that they're asking all these, like, are you being beaten at home? I mean, they're talking about these emotional things about money and home and shelter. Have you ever not had a home to live in? Is that standardized, or is that just a Wisconsin thing?
So they're wanting to standardize that in healthcare as social determinants of health. So they believe that it's not just medical things or that are feeding into your health and well-being. And that's why they're asking those questions, because the other important piece is for us as healthcare workers to know that, like, if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you have a health issue and you get a prescription, that if you don't have a means to fulfill that subscription, you're going to continue on with that health crisis, right? So do we have to help with an individual getting the prescription that they need and give them some resources of financially how they can accomplish that? So that's what the basis of that is, but we all do struggle with it because we have a lot on our plates, and now we're trying to help this.
Yeah. So here's my dream. Are you ready?
Okay.
The patient fills out a Dignify survey as part of some process that gets fed into your system, so that when Joe shows up, he has, his do's and don'ts, his top 5, and that's all you focus, and you address me through that. So if you see I'm optimistic, fun, enthusiastic, which I am, that pops up on the screen. The person goes, "Good morning." If I'm serious and deep thinker, the person looks at that and says, "Good morning." Can you imagine knowing, because I'm going to be nervous anyway, getting my blood drawn or whatever I have doing, I'm a little bit nervous. So just knowing me a little bit like that could put me at ease. What do you think? It's a crazy idea.
It is very revolutionary, for sure.
That's real. I know. I envision that for hotels and everything, because if you have a hotel chain like a Hampton and you did that, like, they would know how to treat me every time I walk in. But that's my dream. See, Cherie, we all have to have dreams of treating people like $1,000,000 wherever they go. And for some folks, that's being serious and, focused and calm. And for some folks, it's high energy, it's exciting words, it just triggers synapses in your brain that tell you, I care about you.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's for us, for the focus was that we want to really focus on the person and treat them how the way they want to be treated and talk to them. And so a lot of my team also says that they really value the keywords that individuals like to hear and be, so that when they have to sit down and have conversation, they can utilize the words that really have impact and are meaningful to that person. So it's trying to make sure that we don't have conversations where the other person is objectified, but the person, you're dealing with them as a person and trying to really respect what they want. And the more that we can do that, the better we do that. Obviously, we're not perfect, and as an entity, we don't do it perfectly, but every time we fail, we get back up and try it again, and we utilize the tools like Dignify that we have in order to do that.
Well, I would tell you, you may not be perfect, but you're the best in our system. We have over 19,000 people inside the Dignify system, and your organization executes the system better than all. I'm not saying there's others that aren't really good, but when you look at your reporting and you just see this rhythm of these lines going up and down month after month, it means that you have a rhythm and people are using it like consistently. So what is this? What is your secret? We don't have that all the time, right? We train this. They know how to treat a person. They see this, but that rhythm of activating the introductions and the check-ins and maybe the wheel of dignity, you guys are doing that a lot too, playing the wheel, playing these games, right? What is the secret to be so consistent with that?
I think what I did is we put the expectation that actually was approved by our board. And we actually have a scorecard that goes in front of the board every quarter. And the expectation is every leader in our organization is to have 3 check-ins or wheel fun. They can mix it up. So they get to decide. Our team has really gotten into the wheel of fun. And so that there's probably more of that happening than sometimes check-ins, which is great. It accomplishes a lot of the same thing too.
It does.
And so we have every leader needing to get to 3. And I will tell you, we've been really busy. We've had some system implementations and things that we've done. So we've been red. We had one department that did not get 3 check-ins, and we were red until they got those check-ins done. And then the next month we were able to kind of report that happened. So we hold ourselves accountable to the board even, saying whether every department and everybody's getting that accomplished. And I think it's the expectation. And we sat down as a leadership team and we sat down with our managers and we said, hey, do you think it's reasonable to say that we should at least have 1 wheel-a-thon or check-in per month? And so, sometimes those of us, it happens 3 at the end of the quarter, but sometimes it happens 1 every month. And everyone agreed that that shouldn't be too difficult. So that's how I think we've been able to consistently put it in place and hold ourselves accountable and really improve dialogue and communication. And I even challenged my team and said, hey, if you can come up with a better way to have dialogue and communication, I'm totally open to it. But if it is not as easy as this, because Dignify is pretty easy, then why would we go that route? And other people, they did have a run at it a couple times of different thoughts and processes, and everyone came back to, well, this seems to be the easiest way to accomplish what we're trying to do. And I think they really started to see the value in what it produced and gave to us for a better culture. I'll tell you, like when I am hiring, I use the snapshot. So I print off my snapshot when I'm interviewing people, when I'm looking at direct reports for hiring. I say, hey, this is Cherie Taylor, and let me go through my snapshot so you can understand who I am. And that gives the person an opportunity to decide, is this a good fit, right?
Yeah.
And is this the leader that I would like to work with or not? And that's okay. I feel like it's more open and transparent we can find a way to be, the better it is. And sometimes when I go through my snapshot, um, I once had a person say, well, somebody could take advantage of you, don't you think? If they knew your do's and don'ts. And I'm like, that'd be great if they, were taking advantage and like giving me exactly what I would like to have.
That's hilarious. Yes, please take advantage of me. Please be respectful. Please don't go behind my back, please.
Right. I was like, that's fine. If I can paint them a picture of what I would, like to have as a relationship with them, and that helps them be successful, that's fine if that's considered being taken advantage of.
I love that. I've also had people say, well, is this like scientifically like validated, right? This type of thing. And I said, well, is your do be respectful? Yes. Do you value musical? Yes. I said, well, you define this. You get to define. You get to decide. Dignify, Cherie, I think you probably realize this. It's an ability to teach another how to treat you. That's what we're doing. We're helping people. You get treated in life the way you teach another how to treat you. So when you are with a new employee, especially in your position, right, there's a natural fear. What is fear? It's the unknown. Who is this person? Will she like me? Will I like her? What's her leadership style? Because I've had some bad bosses like this, or I've had this, right? Your brain starts to attach you to whoever their last authority person was in their life. And if it's pleasant, they tend to be more pleasant. If it wasn't so pleasant, they're more critical. And so when you say, here's who I am, you're releasing that for them because you're forcing the brain from judgmental to acceptance because you're releasing here's what you can expect from me. This is what I'm all about. And you've probably noticed this with people kind of leaning in like, well, this is interesting. Do you feel they just kind of open and loosen a little bit when you start to explain who you are? Do you feel them release that kind of doubt and fear? It's usually subtle, but if you look for it, you'll see them just kind of relax a little bit. Have you noticed any of that?
I have, yeah. I do think they relax, or if somebody tenses up, it means that's an uncomfortable situation for them. But for the most part, it's usually relaxing. I think it helps the person make a determination, right? I mean, when we're interviewing, looking for people for our organizations, they too need to know who we are and what we stand for as an organization. And if that's not comfortable for them, then it's not a good fit for them either. But we need to be open about that so that they can find the right environment that works well for them. And I think that's the goal, and that's the whole key is good cultures come out of people being in environments that are comfortable and help them grow individually.
Yes, and great cultures are intentional, and they have a community feel, and that's what you're creating. When you say this is what we're doing, we are going to be doing check-ins, not this is a tool you can use if you find it to be helpful. Well, people just get busy. They don't, if it's not expected. So you hit the magic sauce. The folks who build their culture fastest with just our tools helpful, right? It's not the end all be all, but it's a tool to get people talking. If you don't say this is what we expect from you as a leader, and this is part of the protocol, no different than filling out your expense reports. If you're going to lead here, this is what you have to do. You hit the magic secret sauce. And as you know, it's not complicated, right? You're saying this is a community. You don't have to be a leader here, but if you're going to be a leader, here's all the things we expect from you, and check-ins is one of them.
Right. And I think it has to be reasonable, and that's what we kind of play with. We used to have a higher number than 3 per quarter. And it was a challenge with everything that's on all of our workloads is how do you do that? We like as leaders, most of us actually love doing these things, but we just don't always have all the time in the world. So it took us a few years to kind of figure out where's that happy medium where you're having enough dialogue that you're impacting and being intentional with your culture, but you're not having so much that you're not getting your other work done. So
Yeah.
that I think we have all decided that 3 makes sense for our organizations.
Yep.
I wish we could do more. My ideal state and situation would be that if all of us could do all of our direct reports and staff every quarter, I think it really would be excellent. Unfortunately, we just have a lot in healthcare that we're trying to do with a very limited resources.
Exactly. And what we have found is even quarterly with direct reports and once a year, even with a staff member, we've had other organizations tell us that is, I mean, compared to not doing it, they go, that has been super helpful. I have heard, this is news I've heard over the last few years for folks who are good at it. I mean, you're the best at your systems are literally perfect compared to your rhythm, how you're doing it. There are other folks who do this very, very well. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to discard all you guys out there who are kicking butt as well. There's other great folks doing it as well. We have heard from many of them that it's really interesting. The more I check in, and this is Dignify check-in and one-on-one meetings with my direct reports, because a lot of that idea of a one-on-one meeting is new, right? Even if it's not a Dignify check-in, but just a meeting, right? Once a month or 2 months. They said, I have more time on my hands when I do that.
Yeah, I can understand that too. So in addition to Dignify check-ins, I have one-on-one meetings. Typically with me as president, I have some mostly weekly one-on-one meetings, but sometimes it's bi-weekly depending on the department and just availability. But those are in addition to like dignified check-ins. So that has been intentional, and our leadership team has done that intentionally themselves too with their direct reports, is trying to have that time. And just being in close proximity with each other and understanding each other. So obviously I can tell you sometimes even as a leader, I fail in getting busy and not having good communication. And what's great is my leadership team is comfortable to come and hold me accountable and say, hey, you're kind of missing it as a leader and we're having issues and we need to get better communication. But I find that a win when your staff are not afraid to come talk to a president and really be all open and honest when those failures happen, because we're all human and stuff happens. But I think that to me tells there's a culture of safety in order to be safe to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I commend you on that. So I have to ask you, have you discovered yet our new meetings tool that we built into the program?
I have not.
Okay, we have a new meetings tool that you can set up all your one-on-ones in, and you can put little reminders and action steps, and you can email people through it, and you see the person's dignity while you meet with them. You customize your agenda, and it's all one spot. So I'll be happy just later. We can give you a little tutorial. I'll get Carrie connected with you for you and your leaders to be. You should probably get a little refresher on all the cool little goodies we have built into Dignify that you may find useful for your team. So we'll make sure to set that up later.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
Yeah. And so, yeah, the whole idea was a system around leadership. And so we're always adding new tools and so forth that we have found best practices out there in the world that we evaluate, emulate, and say, hey, what if we had one spot for all this? You know, and now you may know that there's training already built into Dignify, so they no longer have to wait for us to teach you. You can just watch the videos right in the system. So everything is built in there for you and so forth. Going back to just building these high-performance teams, Um, Tell me the importance of just values and how to make decisions, and how do you go about, or how did you go about, and are you going about that type of conversation? And then how do you push it down?
Yeah, so perfect discussion right now. We just, as a system, joined with another system. So they just rolled out just this month new values for our organization. Interesting enough, everyone just got used to and memorized the last ones, and now we have new ones. But we start out with every meeting, major departmental or board meeting or anything that we have structured agendas with reciting our mission and vision. And then we have at the bottom of our agendas, we have our values. And so we really try to bring those back whenever we're making decisions or we're talking about things to the values. And when, we're having discussions as to whether we're missing the mark or we're failing, is like, oh, we're failing because this is the value that we're violating, and really having a discussion with that. Also, we've tried to incorporate it into, like, when we're honoring staff and talking about the accomplishments or things that we're doing, we're trying to say this value they demonstrated. And one of the newest things that we just brought to our organization and in our board meetings and departmental meetings is a mission moment. And so we have a mission moment where we talk about how a employee demonstrated our mission through action steps and things that they took. And then we inform the board about that. We recognize that at department meetings, and then we send out emails to all the staff and tell everybody else about that. The other thing that we did was we used to have Employee of the Month, and we went away from that because that only recognized one employee, and there's obviously a lot of cool things happening. So we have wins. So we have all our staff submitting wins for their colleagues so that we all get to recognize that. And our HR then runs through that at a departmental. We take the time and read every person's name and every win, and we talk about what that is. And then we send it out, and we send it out to our board. And so we used to have maybe 5 or 6 in a month. Now we sometimes will get up to 20 or more.
Oh my gosh.
So we're recognizing, instead of just one employee, we're recognizing sometimes 20 to 25 employees every month for the great work that they do. And then really focusing in on some mission moments of one of those employees. So
I love that.
Trying to just grow a culture of focusing on mission, vision, and value.
I'm just curious, how do for the execution, because I get a lot of folks going, how do they do that? Like, how do you do that? So, okay, how do you collect? Is it the employee goes and just emails someone and go, here's the wins, here are my wins? Like, how do they submit a win?
So I'm really proud of my team. They laugh at me because they call me the QR queen. I love QR codes. So we have these QR codes all over the organization where you can, with your phone, click on it, and you just fill out the survey information for the win, and the names, what they did, and the information, and then that goes in to our HR department. So that's for wins. That's for we have great catches. We use these different codes for these different pieces, and it all comes in. And then one of the other cool things, because we like to have fun, right?
Yeah.
So Fun Country is my number one. They say that's weird that I'm a president and Fun Country is my main dominant country. We have the Wheel of Fun. It's just an online thing. We enter everybody's name that comes in for the wins. Then we do hit the Wheel of Fun. It's like the Wheel of Fortune. And then somebody wins some type of a prize, small prize for that month, and they get that. So there's an opportunity when they submit their coworkers that they could potentially win that month, and that has kind of promoted it. I mean, obviously for the small prizes, we don't. That's not the whole thing, but at least there's a
Sure.
little bit of fun with it, and it does make it a little bit of competition to like make sure to get people recognized.
You'd be surprised, or maybe you won't be. Fun Country, we have, we're approaching actually 20,000 members in Dignify. Okay. Can you guess the percentage out of 20,000? Because we have the data. What percentage of people, not just your position, but people are Fun Country, do you think, as their number one country?
I've heard that it's the smallest country that's for number one. So maybe I'm way wrong, but it might be like less than 5% or something.
It's approximately 7%, okay, out of the 100% of everyone of the 20, approaching 20,000. And I will tell you, out of our clients, I would guess that 80% of the CEOs and presidents have Fun Country in their first or second position.
Nice.
Isn't it, right? And so fun control people make the best leaders of leaders that our data has shown. Are you fun control? Are you fun peace? Or are you fun perfect?
So perfect and control are the second ones, and they're very close. So I'm fun. I was looking up here. I believe it's fun, perfect, control.
Okay, fun, perfect control. So that Fun Country is the spirit of innovation, right? The Fun Country word is why not? Why not try this new thing? Why not have a QR code all over the place? Why can't we, right? The perfect people are how, so that's your next one. So this is how we're going to do it, right? So why not do it? And you're going to go, well, here's how we're going to do it, which I'm guessing you live in an efficiency world. You're probably not overly detailed, but you have enough like simplification, right, of how. You mentioned it kind of a couple times. You said Dignify is so simple. You brought up simplicity. And then the control people are, here's what we're going to do. And then the peace people are, why are we doing it? And they're the majority. 65% of our population has peace in their very first position. And if you look at first or second, it gets even higher than that. So yes, 7% for the Fun Country.
Yeah, so peace is my very last one and my lowest score.
Peace is my lowest score as well. But it's my wife's second. So it's amazing how you spend the rest of your life with your opposite, right?
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes when you work with them, it drives you nuts.
Yeah.
I always tell it to people.
Prior to being the president, I was a CFO. And so my current CFO just tells me that I'm a closet perfect control person with fun on top.
I love that. I'm a closet perfect. And those perfect controls, those are independent contributors. Those folks can get stuff done real quick. And then you put that fun on top. I love it. And that's how people engage to you. That's where your magnetism of safety and enduringness, if that's a word, you're enduring to people. Yeah, that's just, it's a gift. We all have our gifts. We have to be honest and we have to be truthful. And the biggest thing we are trying to do is teach acceptance in an unaccepting world. So you can't accept what you don't understand as a human being. It's very difficult. I'm not saying all can't, but it's very difficult to accept. And I've learned, instead of asking, why does that person do that? Right? If you ask the question why with regards to a person, your brain your ego will take over from there and go, oh, I'll take care of this one. Because they're an idiot, because they're, the ego will start to bash that person. But when you start to ask, how can I connect? What can I do differently? And you take personal responsibility, which is what the check-in promotes. What can I do for you? Right? And I can't do anything without that awareness. I have no idea. I'd be doing a dignity ding on you through our everyday week or month until we created a space for you to tell me, hey, I have calm, and when we walk in the hallways and you come up to me asking me complex questions, I just had this one, that throws me off. Could you schedule a time to ask me complex questions instead of approaching me in the hall? So I had a check-in like that, and the person said, in the hallway, we talk about things like, how was your weekend? Good morning. What are you having for lunch? Just keep it soft-natured in the hallway. And then as soon as we're at our desks, please schedule a time and I'd be happy to prepare whatever you are you're looking for. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
It's that simple. I've never forgotten it. I'll never forget it because it was done with dignity. It was done about dignity. It was a safe space to talk about an emotional need called calm that this person had, and my moves quick to action was getting in the way. Accidentally. They know I'm a good person, but it still doesn't change how they feel when I do that.
Right. Yeah, and I think as much even though my second country is kind of perfect, we aren't perfect. And I think that's the thing that we try to communicate through better communication is at moments we will fail each other. And we need to be able to have those dignified conversations that are just getting to the issue so that we can clear out that barrier in order for us to have a really good work environment. And it sometimes takes a little while. It's not perfect overnight. And sometimes as a leader, I can really fail in that too. And it takes, a couple of weeks or maybe even a month for me to fix it, to get it back. But I think that's important. And that as a leader, we want to fix it and we want to, I think it is a big component to turnover rate. So one of the things that we really also put on our dashboards with our board is turnover. And right now, I think we're about 12% for the year, and we're on a calendar year. And so trying to really focus in on trying to have our turnover rate less than 15%, which people have told me that 25% is kind of industry norms. And I think that that's unfortunate because, people move on, people move out of the country, there's natural reasons why people turn over. But I think as a leadership, hopefully we can fix so they don't turn over because of our leadership or our work environment.
Yeah. Well, you're doing remarkable work, and you're right. The turnover rate, especially in hospital systems, I've also heard is between 25 and 30% across, different parts of the country. Certainly have probably different stats, but you're just doing a remarkable job. And I just want to thank you for being on our show, sharing a little bit of your story with us, and how you've executed culture and your beliefs, because we want to help the world. We want to help each other, create dignity in everything we do. And so you being an example of that is just, I'm very grateful that you're here on the show. So thanks for being here.
You bet. It's been great to be here. Thank you.
Well, everyone, this is another Dignity Dialogue with our guest, Cherie Taylor, and we will see you next month. Have a great day.
This has been the Dignity Dialogue with Joe Kiedinger. Talk at you later.